Foz, you're up.
2 words, coffee, question mark.
Yeah, so for me, I sort of go by the principle of, all plants have some sort of defense chemical. That's their nature. All living things have a defense, right? It's kill or be killed for plants as well as animals. These trees are out there. They exist. Why is that? There are bugs, there are insects, there are birds, there are animals. Why aren't they just completely destroyed and eaten to extinction? The reason is because they are absolutely not defenseless, and the majority of their defenses are chemical in nature. And so all plants are going to have defense chemicals, and we have been living basically as carnivores or hyper carnivores, meaning we get the vast majority of our nutrition from meat for the last 2-3 million years and then some. So we've been out of that evolutionary race. Plants and animals are an evolutionary arms race. Plants becoming more and more poisonous, so less and less animals can eat them, so they can survive and thrive. And then animals becoming more and more adapted to specific poisons in specific plants, so they can eat that plant and survive and thrive. But they don't eat other things. That's why koalas eat eucalyptus. Almost nothing else eats eucalyptus, but they don't eat anything else, right? And this is why 70% of animals are carnivores. They eat other animals, because it's really difficult to contend with those toxins and actually turn plant tissue into animal tissue. So based on those principles, I don't eat. I have 3 hard rules for myself, which is no plants or fungus, no sugar or any sweeteners, nothing artificial, and that goes for sauces, seasonings, and drinks as well. So my paradigm is such that you say, okay, well, what about tea or coffee? It's a plant, so I don't touch it. Well, what about honey? That comes from an animal. Okay, well, it's sugar, first of all, and second of all, it's not of an animal. It's just from an animal. It's really bee vomit, right? So I'm sorry if this hurts your business on the honey farm, but I think of it sort of as cud, right? That's partially digested, and it's very nutritious and broken down for a cow, and it would be better, sort of like kimchi or some sort of fermented sort of plants or something like that would be better for us, but it's still not food for us. It's food for a bee. It has some things that are good for you, but it also has a bunch of sugar and other sorts of things. So that's how I think about those sorts of things. But I think that the main thing is just eating a lot more meat, not being afraid of meat, not thinking this is a bad thing for us, because we know that was right. So meat's not bad for you. Animal fat's not bad for you. It's actually essential. It's essential that we eat meat and eat fat, okay? So I think just eat more fatty meat and try to avoid certainly processed foods, sugars, processed carbs, any carbs really, and alcohol and all these sorts of things. That's the main thing. And the more meat you eat, that's going to replace out all these other things. So the more meat you eat and the less other things, plants and things like that, you will be healthier. Some people really need to be bare bones, just meat and water, and they can't even do coffee. I spoke to a gentleman. First of all, caffeine is a neurotoxin. It was developed by plants as a neurotoxin insecticide to fry the brains of insects when they try to eat it, right? And a coffee bean is a bean. That's a seed. That's a plant's baby. And plants protect their babies more than anything. And the seeds and beans and nuts and legumes, that's generally where you'll find the highest concentration of poisons. And it goes for coffee as well. So you have to roast them. That's try to denature some of these toxins. But caffeine itself is a toxin. But it also has 150,000 other chemicals in it as well. So you'll find that if you just take a caffeine pill, you'll feel better than if you drank a cup of coffee, because it's very pro-inflammatory. It has oxalates, phytic acid, tannins, and all these other sorts of things that are going to sort of mess with your system. There are a lot of people that they still drink coffee and they do very, very well, but a lot more people, when they ditch coffee, they feel better. And it's been in the clinical literature for 100 years that putting people on a ketogenic diet is a very good treatment modality for epilepsy. And I had a gentleman who I spoke to who went keto, and it helped reduce the amount of seizures, but it didn't get rid of them. He went carnivore, that completely eliminated them. And then he had coffee and he had a seizure. So he's just like, this is a neurotoxin, I'm not going to touch this stuff. But most people do fine with it. And I think, if you like it and you enjoy it, that's fine. But I would encourage people just to try without for a month. Just try meat and water for a month. See how you feel. You add coffee back in and it doesn't damage you, doesn't bother you. Go for it. For me, it did. Like when I don't get sore anymore. It doesn't matter how hard I work out. It doesn't matter the gap in between workouts. I do not get sore, and that's because it's really those inflammatory factors in plants that are causing that pain, stiffness, and swelling. And and that's the plant's way of telling you to go away. Don't eat me. I'm going to make you sick. I'm going to make you hurt. right? And so I had 1 cup of coffee, and all of a sudden I was sore for 2 days. I'm like, nope, not doing that again. So for me, I don't want to do it. But a lot of people do. But as long as you're eating a lot more meat, not being afraid of the fat, and being cognizant of what plants can entail for you. I do a whole presentation and lecture, if people haven't seen it, on at a medical seminar called "Plants Are Trying to Kill You." It's very straightforward. I'm not pulling punches. That's what they're there for. They're there for themselves and not for you.